Hi, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to teach you how you can effectively learn Korean by yourself. Do not skip hangul at all. That is really important, and it's going to be so much easier to study actually, because it's way easier to figure out how to pronounce certain words if you're actually reading the normal letters. Romanized Korean looks very strange, and if you don't know how to read the hangul, it makes it really difficult to pronounce. So if you want good pronunciation, definitely learning hangul is the key. Another thing I suggest is using apps on your phone, because you can just pull those out of anywhere. You can be on the bus or on a train, waiting in line somewhere, and you can just use your vocab and study, and having the apps on your phone is really useful, because it's kind of like having a textbook everywhere with you. So I recommend, this is really basic, but I recommend Duolingo, not necessarily for your only study method, but like just getting your hangul down and vocabulary words. I think it's really useful for that. And also Memrise. Memrise has like certain lesson plans. Like for example, if you listen to Korean music or K-pop or whatever, you can choose a certain song. Usually it's like the more popular songs that they have, but you can choose a certain song and it'll have like a whole lesson plan dedicated to the lyrics of that song. And I think that's good for when you're learning vocabulary more far into your learning Korean, I guess. Like song lyrics aren't going to be useful for everyday conversation when you're first starting, which is what you should start with, is studying everyday conversation. Okay, and also websites. Websites are really important, and this one's really popular. You've probably heard of it unless this is like your first how to study Korean video, but if not, then Talk to Me in Korean is a really good website. It has, okay, so they also have textbooks which you can buy, but they have all of their textbooks on their website, and they also have a lot of YouTube videos, and they have podcasts. But the website, it's like a whole lesson plan, and you can just go through it. It's really easy to follow, and it's very simple everyday conversation that's actually you're gonna end up using when you actually first start talking in Korean. Talk to Me in Korean is 100% free, and it is amazing. I really recommend listening to their podcasts. There's also other Korean podcasts, but I do like Talk to Me in Korean is the best. Their podcast, it's like simple conversations that are slow, and you listen to them and you try to figure out what they're saying, and then after they will go and explain what the words mean. And I think it's really useful if you're just like scrolling through your Pinterest or whatever and you're just listening to the podcast. Now if you can, I recommend buying textbooks. For me, I bought this textbook. It's by a YouTuber on here. His name is Billy Go. Yes, Billy Go. And this textbook for me, I got after I was more into Korean, and this is like a beginning textbook, so it's kind of easy for me, but I think it's a really good textbook. It's called The Korean Made Simple. You can get it on Amazon, and I like it because it teaches you about it, and it's like a normal textbook, but then you can write in, like translate. It tells you to translate from English to Korean, Korean to English. It's really nice, and you can write in it and take notes and everything. Like whole just like pages filled with vocabulary after you finish the lesson. I know Talk to Me in Korean also has textbooks that people like, but like I said, their textbooks are also on their website, so you don't really have to buy the textbooks. I really recommend writing out your notes. It is scientifically proven that writing whatever you are studying will help you remember it better, and especially for languages, that makes it way faster, because if you're just reading through lessons and stuff, you're not going to remember it. So this is pretty simple. I'm sure most people know this, but make sure you're writing them down. And what helps me is to buy like pretty pens and highlighters and make the notes look pretty, because then I actually want to do it, and then I want to go back and read it. This is actually a tip from Talk to Me in Korean that I learned that I really like, and that's really useful. Reading a diary. If you just every day after your day is over, before you go to sleep, you write in Korean or whatever your target language is. You write how your day went. Like, I watched YouTube. Like, even if you don't know that many words, just writing as much as you know how to write helps a lot, because it helps with forming sentences out of the blue, and it helps with practicing like because a lot of times when you learn a language, you can learn it, you can write it down and remember it, but then when you're trying to like use it in everyday life, it's hard to remember what you're trying to say and talk about. So creating a diary and writing about your day will really help you to remember sentence structure as well as your vocabulary. And as you go, you write more, you'll learn more, and you'll be able to write more in your diary, and then you can look back at it and see, wow, I started this, all I knew how to say, and now I know how to say all of this. I think it'd be really cool to look at. A study schedule, especially if you're a student and you don't have that much time on your hands, but you still want to learn a language. I recommend studying for at least 30 minutes a day, and the best time is before you sleep, and I think that's a time that many people have available. So just 30 minutes before we go to sleep will be really useful, because when it's proven that if you study before you sleep, you're more likely to remember it, and because like your brain has time to digest it as you're sleeping instead of like being distracted with all this other stuff that comes after studying, if that makes sense. I don't know, but just make sure you study if you can, study before you go to sleep, and at least 30 minutes a day. With a language, if you're not studying every day, it's really hard to learn it quickly, and it's really hard to remember what you last studied. So just make sure you study every single day. It's okay to skip every once in a while, just try every day. You're getting your basics down. I recommend watching like Korean TV shows, movies, or listening to Korean music. When you listen to it, try to listen for words that you recognize and write it in a notebook, and then what that will do is it'll help with your listening skills, and you'll be able to pick out words that you know. You heard a word and saw the subtitle, you're like, oh, that's what that means, then you can write it down and you'll know a new word. And the last thing I recommend is having a friend to talk to in that language. That can be hard and it can be difficult, because like me, I don't know anyone around me that is fluent in Korean, but I did use apps such as Tandem and Hello Talk. I met my friend from Korea on Hello Talk, and we've been talking for a while now, and they always help me with languages, and I made a new friend, and I have somebody that I can visit when I go over there. A lot of times when you do use those apps though, a lot of people use them as like hookup apps, which is interesting because there's already lots of apps for that. But so if you're not like trying to like do what they're trying to do, they'll leave you on red. A lot of people just like leave you on red or ignore you, which hurts at first, but keep trying and keep talking to new people. Eventually you'll find somebody who is also interested in learning English and will be happy to teach you Korean. Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable with talking to people on these apps, that's optional. You don't have to. There's lots of YouTube videos you can use. And oh yeah, okay, this is not what I wrote down, but YouTube videos help like Korean vloggers or people who make videos in Korean, and they put subtitles down. You can listen to them, and listening to them really helps, and it also helps you to learn and hear like normal daily everyday conversation, and that is actually really useful, because a lot of times in textbook it's like so formal and strict that you're not going to end up using that. So if you listen to like vlogs and stuff, if you listen to vlogs and the people talking in these videos, you get a feel for what natural Korean sounds. Alright, that was all for my tips. If you have any questions, you can just put it in the comments. Make sure to like, and if you want to, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know. And if you have any questions, or if you want to see more videos from me, just please comment that. I'd really appreciate it. Really hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to love yourself. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, and I hope these tips worked for you. I'll see you in the next video. Hi, thank you so much for click